If your guitar playing has plateaued, if you know that you could be a better player, but you're not sure how to get there, I've got something for you, most likely. I've been a top-level music educator for 40 years. I've taught from beginners up to advanced players, shredders, even rock stars and Grammy Award winners. So I know what I'm talking about here. I've written 40 guitar methods plus. And I used to think that plateaus were normal. That's just part of the process. And maybe you've come to, think that that's true as well. But I don't believe that's true. It's kind of like an engine, okay? You've got, let's say, a V8 8-cylinder engine, and if you're only running on 2 or 3 cylinders, it's not going to work very well. And that's what most of us are doing as we're trying to learn guitar and develop our musicianship. We're focused on just like 1 or 2 areas, and we're expecting that to carry us through, and it doesn't. It tops out, and then we start kind of just repeating and doing the same thing. Well, if it's not working for you, you need to do something different. So, in the bigger scheme of things, how do you get out of these? How do you get out of these plateaus? Well, in a nutshell, the answer is that you look at the broader set of skills that are involved in musicianship, and you pursue every single area all at the same time, and they all integrate together. Most of us are mostly focused on, the left hand, or, I should say the fretting hand to include the left-handed players out there. But for most of us right-handed players, it's the left hand. And, the fretting hand is the one with the doing the action. It's on the fretboard. You see the patterns, you see the notes, where you put your finger creates the pitches. So certainly it's important. And that's where we put all our attention. Then we're surprised when, we plateau and we don't get any better. Well, there are other elements. The next most obvious element is obviously the picking hand. I did an entire course, Total Picking Control, really with that thread of developing picking skills. And that allows for a significant breakthrough. Some of you players that have reached much higher levels of technique have probably found that at some point you need to pay more attention to the picking hand. So those two things together, still, that's really just one area, though, of technique and musicianship. And that's the end of it for most players, and that's why they plateau. What are the other areas? Well, there's the understanding the fabric of how music works. This is music theory. So in other words, what's the same about all these different songs? What's different about all these different songs in different styles? How do they relate to each other, and how do you bring all that together and have a good knowledge base? Well, some people also delve into music theory, but what do they miss? Well, they miss the fact that music theory without ear training is a waste of time. So ear training is critical because you have to understand how these musical structures that you learn in theory, what they sound like. When you understand what they sound like and you develop your ear, now that musical structure you can see on the fretboard and you can hear it. Okay, when you bring those two things together with your playing, now you're really on a fast track to continuing to develop. There's also another area that most guitar players really fail miserably at, and that is learning how to express perfect timing. Music isn't just a bunch of notes. It's sounds, which do relate to pitches, so chords and notes, but it's sounds arranged in time. There's a sound component and there's a time component, and everybody's so focused on the sound component, they're ignoring the time component. Yes, it's true that when you're practicing, initially something that's difficult, you have to make the time component a bit elastic. But at some point, you have to turn around and really focus on getting the time component really good and solid. So how do you do that? Well, for one thing, you need to understand how rhythm notation works, and you need to be able to read it and write it so that you really understand how the notes relate against the beat, against the pulse. Some people even go that far. But then they fail to take the final step, which is it's not good enough to understand it. You have to be able to execute it. It's in your body and it's kinesthetic. You feel rhythm. That's one of the problems with, of course, it's abstract because we can't see it. We don't pay attention to it, or we don't pay enough attention to it. So you've got this whole process that we can really develop rhythmic skill and the ability to express timing and improve your timing when you have perfect timing and you have control over left and right hands. Then you can integrate that together. You combine that with a knowledge of how music works, and you combine that with a well-developed ear. Bring all that together, and you're going to continue to progress as a guitarist and as a musician, and you won't plateau because you'll be developing every area of skill. And here's the thing, when you develop them all at the same time, they all integrate, and one improvement in one area improves the other areas. Every area improves every other area. This is a holistic approach, and it prevents plateaus. That's how you avoid getting stuck. And this is why I've created the Troy Stetina Music Academy, to offer this broad-based, holistic, step-by-step process where we develop each one of those areas and integrate them every step along the way. Now, it's based on a guitar method that I wrote, Metal Rhythm Guitar Volumes 1 and 2. This was written back in the 90s, and some people will say, well, music has changed a lot since then. Well, it has, and it hasn't. The truth of the matter is that all the fundamentals of musicianship are all still the same, and that structured approach does work. However, the decorations and embellishments, the mixing approaches and tones, the singers are different. Style has changed a bit. So what we've done here is I have created a course based on that, but supplementing with hundreds of songs, lots of additional songs. There's, I think, 120 plus more examples. And we've put them into this graded approach. And as we go through them, we talk about their timing issues. We've talked about developing the ear along the way. We've talked about the music theory. We work it all together. And as you do that, what you're going to see is how music has changed through the decades and what's the same and what's different. It's more the same than different, honestly, but we'll take a look at all of these different songs and see, what's happening in these different songs and what are the specific skills that you need, not just to play the song, but to master the song. So we go through that. We also supplement it with stuff. Here's the thrash guitar method. When it's appropriate, we pull from there. There's total rock guitar. We pull from all of these different guitar methods into one strong, structured approach that covers every step of musicianship and keeps you progressing. Right now, Heavy Rhythm Guitar Mastery is at the Troy Stetina Music Academy. You can check it out for free for a few days, see if you like it. If you do like it and you want to continue, it's less than $10 a month, so you got nothing to lose. You can develop every skill area that you need at your own pace. And we even have guitar coaching available if you need help, one-on-one help with specific areas. If there's an area that you don't understand or that is weak, you can get help. Otherwise, you've got loads of videos. You've got all the songs that classic songs, popular songs, new songs across the whole range of rock and metal styles. And there's no reason that you're going to hit a plateau or you're going to get stuck. You're going to keep progressing. I created this curriculum specifically to give you everything that you need to master the guitar. And when I say master the guitar, I really mean master the guitar. By all accounts, I've done that. I've taught other people how to do that. I can teach you how to do that.